Alrighty, let's get this sound happening. So, what have we got? We made our oscillators in the last video. Let's kind of adjust those a little bit now that we've got those oscillators set up. So I can run my sequence. Turn down the volume just a little bit. One thing that we do need is to lower the second two voices by an octave. So that's the octave switch for the second VCO got turned down. And this VCO, the octave for the third VCO got turned down. Another nice thing to do is kind of play with the pulse width on some or all of these oscillators. So could even modulate that later. Just in case you're wondering, the pulse width of a square wave, just make another scope here and zoom in on one of them. Actually, I'll do it just in a separate spot because it'll be easy to see. But so this is kind of going back to some very early semester stuff here. But if we get an oscillator and a scope, this is a really good thing to do anytime you're wondering what's coming out of a module, is just plug it into a scope and see what's there. But if I take the square output of this random oscillator and plug it into here, adjust the time a little bit so we can kind of see and adjust the frequency. You can see this is our square wave that's coming out of it. It's kind of not completely square because this module's set to analog at the moment to give it a little bit more of an analog tone. But if you switch it to digital, it goes to basically a perfect square. Changing the pulse width, you can see the amount of down time in the duty cycle is exactly the same as the up time in the duty cycle. So that means it's a square wave. When people refer to pulse waves, it means anything that's not evenly 50-50 down and 50-50 up. So when I change this width, you can see it's kind of more up than down to the point where it's nothing. And then if you go the other way, it's more down than up. Both of those sound to us, the human ear, is essentially the same, but it's still something, it's cool that you can kind of modulate between the two. And again, just to illustrate, if I plug that into our main output here, it means I've got to mute these just so you can hear it on its own. So you don't need to do this, but just listening to this output. And so this is a square wave. When I change the pulse width, get a lot of different and extra harmonics. The sound gets thinner. And it sounds the same on the other side. So that's pulse width. So that's what we're adjusting when we're adjusting that pulse width. Of these three oscillators. Let me turn that down. Okay, cool. So I can delete those, disconnect it, back to our bass sound, and oops, just turn these up here. So when I'm changing the pulse width on these three oscillators using the square output, that's kind of what's happening. Do one a lot, you might do one a little. Notice if you do it on the one that's higher up the octave, you kind of hear the difference. It sounds slightly different. And again, you could also change the tuning. So this is the coarse tuning here. We don't want to touch that necessarily, but we do want to play with this. And you can see that by changing the tuning, you start to get this little interplay. That's just, don't know what that is, so I'm going to stop there. Woo! Is that an Ableton thing? Yeah, I think it was. Okay, cool. Great, so that's adjusting the pulse width, octave, and tuning of our three oscillators. I'll split this up into another video.